tradition to last throughout the years. So bring your good times and your laughter too. We gon' celebrate your party with you. Come on now.
Yay! Hah? Wala ba?
Come on.
Awesome. Hi guys, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Tried to put together this song so that we could welcome people in the rooms, and so hopefully you guys enjoyed our music choice. Otherwise, we did our best. We thought it would be some inspiring as you guys came in. And so before we start this presentation, so by the way, yes, it's a presentation, but we shall need to engage with you guys and hear your questions. Get your insights and just get to hang out with you. Only that we wanted to do some presentation to sort of let you know what we've been up to and what we are hoping to do this year, 2021. It's March already, but we're hoping that we'll still have, can I say, 9 months to play around with and possibly do more with my home stars, but also most importantly with you guys. And so first and foremost, thank you so much for being here, and we are so glad you could be able to join us. On the presentation here, I have Anson, who is the product engineer at My Home Stars, and then myself. To those who I haven't rechecked in the list, I'm sure many of you are friends, Anson's friends, and My Home Stars friends. But in case it's your first time and the friend invited you, my name is Joe Baraka. I'm the founder and CEO of My Home Stars, really a social enterprise that's starting to grow, I would say. And Anson is my colleague. He's a product engineer at My Home Stars. Anson, why don't you say hello to the people?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. That was a great introduction. And I love the music. Brings the energy up in the room. So yeah, my name is Anson Liao. I'm a fourth year senior here at UW Madison. And we'll talk about this later, but Joe and I, we met back in 2018 and we became good friends, and we're glad that we're now working on this together, and impacting so many kids in Uganda.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then for the people, if you are coming in, try to mute yourself, and also if you can like stop the video so that we can have, can I say, concentration and make sure that we are engaging with each other. But yeah, try to mute yourself such that if you have any inconvenience going on, it doesn't interrupt people in the rooms. Otherwise, we are going to kick it off, sort of going into the presentation. But as I said, try to remain. It will take about 20 minutes, and then after that, we shall engage with you. Any questions, any insights, it will be very helpful to hear from you guys. And so starting off, I'll go to the next slide. There's something I wanted to, can I say, highlight and mention that even though it's me and Anson talking you today, we have a powerful team of young, amazing men and women that we've been working with. On starting from the left, we have Mahoro Tisia, who is doing her master's at the Agnes Court in Georgia. And then, of course, Anson next. And then the other one is Nelson Mugawa, who is in the audience. Just know, Nelson, I'm very proud of you, and the whole team at My Home Stars, we are very proud of the work we've been doing. You've been doing. I am mentioning that because Nelson has been the guy on the ground coordinating all the work in Uganda, and so he deserves so much credit to be able to, can I say, sort of worth mentioning. He's been he's been on top of the game, you know, like me and Anson doing this when we are students. Nelson has been sort of a helpful person to have on the ground. He understands what he's doing, but also an amazing guy to just work with. And so, Nelson, very proud of you and thank you so much for being part of my Homestars. And then on the far right, that's me. My name is Joe Baraka. And so nice to meet you guys. On the next slide, I wanted to really, I've received very many questions of people asking me actually to talk about Anson. And so today I decided to put together a whole slide on this guy called Anson. And I titled it Meeting Anson because it's been one of the best things for me coming at UW-Madison or being a student has been meeting really some amazing students at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And Anson was one of them, absolutely. And I don't know how I can explain it, but he's been an amazing guy. And these are some of the pictures that we've taken over the course of the years. We met in 2018, and actually this picture here, when we were walking like on the rail, on the this is a train rail. That's I think the first time we went to hang out together on Devil's Lake. People from Madison, we understand that. And behind us, they're actually good friends of ours. So Connie, Nigel, I assume you guys are in the audience. That time was sort of fundamental for my relationship with Anson, and sort of that's the time we connected really well. And since then, we've never looked back. And then these other pictures are pictures we've taken over the years, hanging out, working together. And so that's how I met Anson, University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2018. Shared with him about my Homestars. We became good friends. I realized that he loved board games. I am a big fan of board games. And so since then, we've sort of been partners on the thing of my Homestars, working together as students, but also working on my Homestars and growing it. Anson, why don't you say hello to the people again and add on
Yeah,
what I just said?
sounds good. Yeah, that's what Joel said is really yeah, that's basically how we met and the story behind it. And I just want to point out, some people might wonder why, like a guy from Malaysia is partnering up with somebody from Uganda and working on this startup or this board game. And to me, I think so. Part of my experience in Malaysia, especially during the time between high school and college, I was fortunate enough to be volunteering for different NGOs and different groups and working with different, I guess, underprivileged communities like refugees and indigenous people. And so part of me always wanted to give back to such groups. And I think by working on the 5 stars, it's really a blessing and an opportunity to give back. A child in Uganda and a child in Malaysia that have limited opportunity to education, to water and different basic necessities. To me, I think it's the same. We should equally care for them. And so meeting Joe itself it's a really inspiring thing and really humble to learn his background and how he had to overcome so much barriers to get to where he is today. And his work on my Homestars it's just really amazing. And so I'm really proud and grateful to be part of this.
Yeah, well, Anson, I am very proud of you, and I feel the same, man. This guy pushes me a lot. I know most of my friends know that someone who likes, can I say, when I want to do something, I really want to do it, and that's it. I want to do it. But Anson has been the guy who makes me think. And when we're working together, for example, we have deadlines, he pushes me. And so it's been a privilege working with you. And I am really excited and looking forward to how the next few years will unfold as we continue to work on this, but also as we continue to do what we set out to do. And that's exactly working with Ugandan children, but also if there's an opportunity to expand to other places, of course, expand things of that kind. All right, I will go ahead and sort of go into the actual presentation, but I wanted to throw it out there on how we met Anson, because I feel like it's been very fundamental for the progress of my Homestars and also going forward. Just college kids who met, but then I feel like we've really had some good connection, and our determination is what has sort of kept us together. So thank you so much, Anson, for being part of my Homestars family. All right, next Anthony will take us through sort of a brief overview about My Home Stars.
Yeah, so my home stars, as you can see on the slide, it's a social venture, or kind of a social startup that focuses on delivering fun and engaging academic packages. And we want to be intentional with our language here because we always see ourselves as not just developing a board game. We see ourselves in, the goal of the organization is to help um, uh, underprivileged kids or primary school children in assessing education and learning, and so that can come in different forms. For example, this past uh, like pilot that we did in September last year, we were able to fundraise a big amount of money, but again, we didn't spend all of it towards game production. We also thought about things like sanitation facilities, getting teaching equipment like whiteboards, things like that for the schools as they need it. And so we thought that would be more impactful, and that's true to our goal of really helping these Ugandan primary school children.
Right. And I think Anson mentioned a good point whereby, yes, we are right now we're focusing on delivering educational games, but our main goal is not necessarily do games. We're really trying to explore are there other ways to be able to make the learning environment within Uganda or even other countries that we might go to in the next few years much more, can I say, fun, engaging, and places whereby when kids come in, they feel like this is where we belong, and also like places whereby children can be children. When I say children can be children, they can be wild, they can feel accepted, they can feel like they belong, they can aspire to be. And so anything that will allow us to do that, and of course, when I say anything that will allow us to do that, we are exploring and we're trying to see what are those, can I say, things that we need to bring into the education environment to be able to do that. So anything that will help a child thrive at school and make sure that he's doing well, he's dreaming big, and he's being a child. And children, what they do is they dream and they, can I say, they take on things fearlessly. And to some extent, when we look at the current education system, for example, in Uganda, whereby children come and they're only doing 4 subjects, and pretty much if you're not doing well on these subjects, you're pretty much, there's a way you're meant to feel like you're not enough. Those things should, can I say, we're hoping that we can find ways to do things better and help children dream big, dream fearlessly, and excel in school. Right now, yes, it's the 5 stars, it's a game, but we hope to do more and expand into other areas. And of course, as time goes on, we shall be able probably to do that. All right, Anson.
Yeah, and so the 5 stars is the game that we have developed, and I guess I can start with the name itself. So a lot of people ask us, what's going on with this name? What's the story behind it? And so the number 5, one of the reasons is that the game can be played by 5 people, up to 5 people, and then the stars, the A to Z, it's basically saying that we're trying to capture the whole Ugandan curriculum, so like A to Z, so that's everything. And then moving on to the packaging, again, that was kind of my summer project over last year, working on the packaging, working on the board, just creating something that looks interesting, looks nice to people, and so that when we send these games out, people are excited for this. And then the board itself, as you can see, um, the illustration is a bit small, but there's 5 different stars, and so those stars are actually the brightest stars in the universe. And so we want to use stars as a way to inspire children to dream big. And so the game is, if you look, there's small circles around it. If somebody starts at one spot and move across the entire circle, they will move to the inner circle, which do the same thing again. And the first person to reach the middle wins the game. And by by moving across the board, you would have to answer questions correctly based on the content cards that we have on the right. And so all the content are based on the Ugandan primary curriculum. As you mentioned, there are 4 core subjects, social studies, science, math, and English. And then obviously we have playing pins and dice as well. And so the dice, we use it for what we call chance and jeopardy. As you can see on the board, there's red and green circles. And when players land on those spots, they will, have different. So when they land on chance, they will have different luck-based opportunities that will help them in the game. And the opposite is true for if you land on a red circle, you'll get jeopardized by luck as well if you roll a dice, and there's different consequences. But that's kind of the brief explanation of the game. Obviously, we can go in really detail if people are interested.
Right. And we would really encourage people to, can I say, reach out or ask, because there's more to the game. For example, like the rules. I will have I think 2 pages, which are trying to compress to 1 page to be able to make it simpler for kids. But in summary, as Anson said, the game is made up of 5 components. The first one is the packaging, the board itself, the dice, the pins, and then the content cards that are wholly or entirely made out of the 4 subjects out of the Ugandan education curriculum. And then the whole game has been named after the 5 brightest stars, which Anton, I think, forgot to mention. It's Canopus, Sirius, Centaurus, and then Rigel and Vega.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Google, those are the 5 brightest stars in this in the galaxy or in the sky. And the goal here is, how do we inspire children, can I say, to feel like there can be something bigger? There's something bigger out there. And so the goal is at the beginning of the game, the children take on the characters of these stars. So one becomes Centaurus, the other one becomes Sirius, the other one becomes Vega, and on. And so at the end of the day, they're trying to sort of compete and then see who is the brightest star, or which star shines the brightest on the board. And in this case, maybe in the sky. But also, as Anson said, on green and red, we're trying to incorporate components of how do we teach children to work together in teams. How do we teach children to be able to ask for help when things are hard, because that's one of the things, everyone who is in the group here, sometimes asking for help or sort of admitting that things are hard is not easy. And so how do we teach children at an early age in school to be able to say that, hey, I'm struggling here, could you help me? And we're doing this through the 5 stars and sort of teaching kids through the movements and the mechanics of the game, trying to teach them working together in teams. When things are hard, you can ask for help. But also when things are easy, maybe you'll be challenged, which is the jeopardy part, whereby children can jeopardize each other. It's like tricking each other. But of course, collaboration and competitiveness is what we are trying to balance up here, and then making sure that children, yes, they're having fun, they're engaging with the game, but also they are learning. We are not like compromising the actual learning that happens in school or they have to do in school. All right, I'll go to the next slide. And this one is, I wanted to highlight what really makes the 5 stars unique, or the uniqueness of the 5 stars. And by the way, the kid on the left, I'm the one who took this picture back in 2019, I believe, or 2018. His name is James, an amazing guy. Sometimes, like when I look back, the memories working with these kids is just phenomenal. His name is James, and he graduated in 2020, so last year. That's when he finished his primary school. And this picture is one of those that really stunned me. And when I look at it, I'm like, let's go, But yeah, number 1, the 5 stars is wholly and entirely based on the Ugandan educational curriculum. As I mentioned, we're not compromising on what kids have to learn. We want to make school fun, engaging, but we want to make sure that they're learning what they're supposed to learn. Number 2, it's collaborative, fun, and engaging, which I feel like we've talked about already. And then number 3, it's child-centered. To the people in the group who are watching on Facebook, who come from Uganda or any other parts of the African continent, you can agree with me that most of the countries or most of the education systems, learning is sort of teacher-centered. And so we're asking ourselves at My Home Stars, how do we make learning child-centered, whereby children could be able to carry out learning on their own? And I think having COVID that hit in 2019 has really spoken volumes, whereby children, schools are shut down and then like they're sent home. How are children able to learn on their own, even in absence of teachers? And so that's what we're trying to do here with the 5 stars and my home stars. How do we make learning child-centered and not necessarily sort of teacher-centered when teachers get out? Sorry for that. I think there's someone who has not muted themselves. Anson, try to check and probably ask them to mute. But anyway, trying to make this whole learning situation of children sort of child-centered rather than teacher-centered. And then the fourth one is effective at managing large classes. I always talk about how when I was going to school in Kangwari refugee camp, you go to primary school and the first day you show up, you are like 150 children in one class. And so I know in the US, the average I think is about 40 children per teacher, but out there in rural schools, numbers can really get high. And so the 5 stars, like as Anson mentioned, it being a board that can accommodate up to 5 children, we are looking at a space whereby when you bring, say 50 boards, this can be able to accommodate 250 children. And in these 50 boards, 5 children can concentrate on the board and they can learn as much as any other child in class. Because the experience that I've seen going in some of the primary schools in rural communities, you find that children at the front, they are very engaged. Kids at the back, they are doing their own things. And when you have 150 children, a teacher almost has no time to like go at the back and be like, hey, can you try to focus? And so the 5 stars were imagining that it will be a game whereby teachers who have about 150 children, they can still be able to effectively manage large classes by engaging them with an academic board game that helps children to have fun, but also feel like they are part of the system, rather than currently whereby you realize that kids at the back, they're doing their own things, when kids in front, they're sort of concentrating. So effective at managing large classes. And then lastly, we love this one, the idea that the 5 stars will be able to ignite creativity and inspire critical thinking. As we said in the game, children have to find a way to work together as a team, but also to compete. And so these skills that we are teaching children, for example, when they are playing, to be able to say negotiate points or like agree that this answer, I deserve the points. It's really something we are hoping that it will help us to ignite creativity, help children think beyond just knowing mathematical formulas or cramming like social studies, can I say dates? And that's what sort of they are examined on. And if you pass, that's it. So yeah, those are the 5 components that really make the 5 stars unique, and we hope to continue develop as we build my home stars, but also as we continue to improve the 5 stars.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for talking more about the 5 stars. I think that really you point out like what's unique about the game. And so right now we are taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture, like our progress since now, especially in the last year and until now. And so we've worked with 7 primary schools. Obviously, those consist of the schools that were in the Kangwali refugee camp. Those schools have been great partners with us. They have been providing really valuable feedback to us in terms of what can be improved in the game, or like what's the reaction of the students and teachers. And so we have maintained those relationship, I would say. And then we have also expanded to a few schools in, I guess, the urban setting or in towns.
Right.
And this is an exciting step that we're taking kind of outside of the refugee camp, because again, like these schools, they are much bigger and they have more resources. And obviously, I think the student, the demographics is a bit different, and we're hoping to see if our game, will be equally, impactful in these communities, and or if there's things that we have to improve. And then we have served more than 1,500 refugee students. It's a number that we think will grow in the coming future as well. And we have a core team of 8 individuals. And I'll let Joe talk a little bit more about the hiring that we recently engaged in, getting Simon on our team.
Right.
Yeah,
I
Joe,
see
you want to speak
Simon.
to that?
Yeah, actually, see
Yeah,
Simon.
Simon is here as well. Yep.
Yeah, in the group. So we just had one of the things that we've really struggled with, or that has given us so much hard time because of lack of experience, is actually we are saying that the 5 stars is wholly based on the Ugandan education curriculum, but here we are, like the whole team of my home stars, actually, we are either students or people who have just graduated. So we don't know much about the education curriculum, only that it has been a process of us learning, spending time, understanding what goes on in these subjects. But we thought it would be wise to hire someone who has worked in the education sector. So actually, Simon is a researcher and someone who is has been in the field of linguistics, so he understands things of doing research and content development. And so he'll be taking on the part of developing more content for the 5 stars and improving what we have. And so we actually just welcomed him last week, and he will be starting this week on Monday. So tomorrow, that's when he starts with us. And he's done already some good, amazing work. So far in the first few days, I've been interacting with him because like he's been suggesting some of the things we could do. And I think that's what my home stars is all about. You know, how do you bring people who are very passionate and then be able to work on something that's bigger than them, you know, like me and Nanson realizing that, hey, this content thing is taking a while. Can you bring someone on board who can support? Is what my home stars is all about. You know, how do you bring people together who are passionate to support kids who need our support most?
And that's a really good point. And one of the next things that we are trying to do is to be more intentional with gathering data and listening to what the users of our game has to say, and really make that, I guess, to quantify those information and to basically research and improve the game. And so in the past couple of months in 2020, during September to December, where we had our pilot, we collected quite a bit of data in terms of test scores and some written surveys. And we have been coming up with sort of a research paper or a report, you can say, that we hope to publish in the coming weeks that will show you guys the work that we did and some of the data that we collected and what the data tells us. So yeah, keep I guess like make sure to look out for that when we publish it. I guess on our social media.
That's right. That's right. And this one, we didn't see this one coming. You know, 3-4 months ago, if you asked Anson and I that we shall be sort of focusing on now, like publishing a research paper, I would be lying. When we set out to raise money on GoFundMe, the entire goal was to just make learning accessible for children in Kyangwa refugee camp. But as we continued doing things, some of our good friends and mentors were like, what if you guys became intentional at gathering data and learning from this pilot? We were like, okay, let's jump on it, let's do it. And then later on, after we had gathered this data, at first actually we were scared that we may not be able to gather data because of the pandemic and the dynamics now in different areas. We thought it would be impossible to sort of collect the data. Luckily, we were able to collect a significant amount of information. And then later on, some of our mentors were like, okay, now what do you do with this data? Why don't you actually sit down, analyze it, and then publish something or come up with something that will continue to guide you as we move ahead? And so, as I said, as Anson said, in the next few weeks, we are done with our first draft of the research paper about how the pilot went, what were the hypotheses that we were testing, what the results and the conclusions we are coming up with. And so we shall be sharing that with you. And we would love to hear your feedback or even like telling us what you think. Because again, we like to think that we are students on this journey, you know. Yes, we are sort of spearheading my home stars and spearheading all these programs, but it's been a whole learning process for each one of us because I never saw myself working on a research and publishing something, not really. But I guess my home stars has really put us on this trajectory of being able to work on these exciting things and see what happens, you know. And so it's been exciting, and I would ask you guys to look forward to that. All right, and then I will take you through our second last slide, which are the goals for this year. And the first one is that we are hoping to partner up with 10 schools. Now, I would want to, I'm planning actually to talk with my team and then see if we can change this one, because it's already March and we've already partnered with 7 schools. So very sorry to have, and I'm very sorry to, can I say, to mention that we sort of set out a goal that sort of was really small, because I thought working or reaching 10 schools will be hard, but actually it's really quick getting into these schools. So there's a high chance that we're going to expand on this one and reach more schools. But in January, our goal is to be able to work with 10 schools, and now it's like we're already working with 7. So the expansion has been a little bit much faster than we expected. So hoping to expand on that and reach more schools for sure. And then the second one is we are hoping to serve at least 5,000 children. And right now we're on 1,500, and we're hoping to add at least 3,500 more children, either from these 10 schools. Of course, it also depends on how many children a school has, but we're hoping to increase this number of children as we continue to work on My Home Stars. And then the other one, we are hoping to raise about 25,000 in sort of the amount of money that we need to keep the operations going. I want to mention that Anson and I actually don't get paid, but we need like the staff that is helping us. When we bring on board people like Simon, who are experienced and they'll be helping us developing the content, we need to pay them. And then also like the production. Yes, we've developed the game. Yes, we've continued to improve the game, and we are dedicated to do that. But when it comes to production, we need money to fund this. And we shall be sharing on the next slide. We're going to share with you like how you can support, because we still need your support. When it comes to production, for example, a game costs about $25 to produce, and the child will have access to the 4 modules that are taught in Uganda: a module from social studies, module from science, and a module from English and math. And so by 25, you could be able to support 5 children with a game, which I really don't think is that expensive, especially if, you know, it's really going to make an impact and help children access learning. Let's really recognize that the pandemic has made, can I say, the learning environment for children from disadvantaged communities sort of lose out, you know. In the US or any other parts of the world, we can celebrate because we have internet, we have computers, we can access online learning, but for kids who come from rural communities, it's really very hard. And I think this is when we step up to work with these children and understand that they deserve better and they can do better when they have our back. So yeah, 25,000, and then we're hoping to produce more games and support our staff, and of course, continue to do what we are doing. And then lastly, bring on board 2 content developers. As I said, we already brought 1 on board. And so from now up to June, we shall be working with Simon Lutahigwa, who will be our main content developer. But we are hoping before the year ends to bring another second content developer to continue help us sort of improve what we have, but also add more content. So yeah, 2 content developers by the end of this year. And then lastly, conduct customer discovery interviews. So as we said, we've been very intentional at making sure that we are listening to our students who are using the game, but also teachers. And what we are now getting to is actually sort of sitting down, having a round table with our customers. These are teachers, getting to also parents. These are people who are donating, like sharing ideas and then seeing what they have to say. You know, people who are really good into or are into entrepreneurship, you understand that sometimes when you're developing something, sometimes you don't know your customer. And so not until you like go into the field, talk with people a couple times, and sometimes come back, refine what you have, pivot if you have to, or change sometimes when you have to. It's very important for any social enterprise that's sort of trying to grow. And so that's the same thing we want to do. This year, we are going to be intentional at conducting customer discovery interviews. And actually, that's starting this week on Monday. Simon is a content developer, but actually he'll be helping us to also get in touch with teachers around Kampala and talk with them, and also like other teachers from Kyangwa refugee camp at Koburas and Kinaketak and other schools that we've been working with. And so we are going to be intentional with that because we really think it's very fundamental for the work we are doing for the improvement of the 5 stars, but also just learning and understanding what we'll have to improve as we move along.
So yeah, I'll take over this slide. So I think maybe at this point, some of you might wonder, how can you support us and how can you, help some of these kids in Uganda? one thing is you can always donate any amount that you wish or you can afford. You can always access that. You can always make your donation through our website. If you go to our website, it's called myhomestarsmhs.com. There's a donate button, right on the top. You can click on it, or you can also add to our GoFundMe campaign, which is still going and live. And the second one is buying games as gift. So basically, as Joe said, $25 will be enough for producing one game that'll impact up to 5 kids. And it's really amazing when I think of how this game can capture all 4 subjects in one package. And so that's really impactful for these kids in their learning. And so point 3 and 4 is basically connecting us with resources that and obviously if you think that you might bring something to what we're doing, and you think that you can contribute with some kind of service or your expertise or anything, yeah, we are more than happy to partner with you, to collaborate, to listen to you. And so those point 3, 4, and 5 is basically saying that if it's not just about the I guess the monetary or like the financial contribution. There's also many other ways that you can help us in our journey and contribute to the cause.
Right. Yeah, and I really can't emphasize enough on point number 2. Very many people have reached out asking, can I buy the game? Can I use it? And it's always hard when I say it's for the kids back in Uganda right now. Like, for example, someone in the US or someone in high school can't use it. But we still have this option whereby you can buy a game as a gift and send it to children. As I said, $25. That's what it costs to produce this game and have access to the 4 modules. And if you buy that as a gift and send it to a child, or actually 5 children in Uganda, that will be a big way to support. And so I really highly encourage that. And then point 3, 4, recommend us, connect with us, or connect us to some people that might be helpful. It's a great way for us to continue doing what we are doing. And then number 5, offering services. We've had a lot of friends at UW-Madison at our university who have come in, for example, to make a video for us, and I would give a shout out to Michael, Brennan, and Fu, who have all been our media guys when we need them. And then recently it was Claire Adamson. I don't think I can pronounce her last name. She has been very helpful with media and all that. And so if there's something you can help with, please reach out and see, be part of us, be part of the journey. And there are very many ways to, work with us and support the work and be part of the journey. All right, and so this brings us to the end of the presentation of me and Anson talking and chatting with you guys. And this is now the time whereby you could ask any questions, any comments, or any reactions. So the floor is open. If there's someone who wants to either ask about anything on the presentation or pretty much say anything, it's your time. And I see my Sharif, one of my good friends at the University of Wisconsin-Madison on my scholarship, has raised up the hand. Sharif, go ahead.
Yeah, Joel, thank you very much, you, Anton, the rest of your team. I think what you're doing is really important and relevant, and you all deserve accolades for that. I have 2 quick questions. So the first one has to do with technology. I'm a computer science guy, so of course I'm going to talk about technology.
Right.
My question is, so right now we are living in a world which is quickly transitioning to be a tech world, right? And so long story short, how is the game you're working on, how is this going to incorporate technology into its system at some point? That's my first question. And my second question would be on the fact that you mentioned you're not being paid, Anthony's not being paid. I think it's nice, it's really good, right? But then it's nice to have some compensation for the work you do. it's a form of appreciation. And I'm sure people would be happy to hear that, well, maybe we are not getting paid a lot, but at least we are getting this to support ourselves, because your time, bro, you could be doing other things, but you're doing this, you know? So I'm just thinking, is there a point where you would consider at least taking something as compensation for the work you do? I think you should, but it's a question to you.
Wow. Sharif, every time he pulls off, he comes with tough questions. I've always had the conversation with him, and he's a thinking guy. And so I didn't expect anything less than that. Tough questions, but really good questions that I guess will get us thinking. The first one, how are we going to incorporate technology? It's actually something we've always thought about. If you asked me this question in 2018, I think I would have given you a date, which was actually next year, 2019. My goal was actually to develop the game and then bring on people like Anson, and then when they come on board, start developing the online version of the game. And actually last year, 2020, at the beginning, we put together a proposal whereby we partnered with a South African company. It's called Nail Butcher and Associates, and they were willing to help us start developing the online version of the game. But we realized like it's a lot of funding that's needed. But also when you look at the demographics or the kinds of communities we want to reach, rural communities and children who need our support most, we realized that we might develop the game and then a month later, we need to find a way to also make this game accessible, since like children don't have computers and all that. So we realized it would be another burden or another problem to solve. Are we scared of the problem? Maybe not, but we needed to recognize that it's still a barrier to sort of jump on technology and make the game accessible online. But yes, it's something we are thinking about. And right now, if you look at our business plan, the digital business plan, actually we want to do that in 2023. So 2 years from now, I want to be able to start developing the online version of the game, because we are thinking by then, with the content developers we are bringing on, we shall have gotten enough content that can be sort of really, when you go online, you want to access sort of a lot of content, which we don't have right now, sort of unlimited content. By 2023, we think we shall be having enough content that we can share with the public, and it will be worth it sort of developing the online version. So that's question number one. Question number two, compensation. It's really, I feel guilty because like Anson actually had to quit one of his jobs like this semester. He was working as a student and he's not being paid, but it's been passion. But like, as you mentioned, you know, passion can take you to a given level, and probably I need compensation. We've been doing this mostly because like we are students when we are passionate about it, but it's something we are constantly thinking about. Me and Anson, how do we make this, can I say, self-sustainable, such that when we start working on this maybe full-time, it can pay us. And that one is something we're exploring under the business model part of this. And that's why we're actually trying to conduct customer discovery interviews. So we're asking ourselves, could schools in the urban settings be able to buy these games and then generate enough revenue that covers up for our pay or people who we work with, and then also support or sponsor the games that we are producing for rural communities. And then the other thing that we are thinking about, we had a session at Clubhouse. I don't know how many of you know about Clubhouse. I would really encourage you to check out this platform called Clubhouse. But we met some amazing people from Malaysia and Singapore, and they were telling us how we need to look into corporations whereby corporations can be sponsoring the work we are doing, and then that can pay. And so that's something we're trying to can I say, think about the long-term pay, the long-term sustainability of the business. But right now it's been sort of hard for us to think about that, but also continue doing what we are doing. So we are trying, I know we probably can do more when it comes to like making sure that we are really being intentional about getting the money and probably compensating ourselves. But with being a student, we realize that I think focusing on the work for now will be very important. But yes, very good question that we have to think about as we move ahead. Anson, please.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to the second point, and actually, like Joe and I, we had this conversation just yesterday. We were saying that, you know, the things that we are working on right now, it's in itself a full-time job, right? There's so much things that we can do, so much time that we have to spend on, and so, you know, it's some days I'll be thinking like, oh, you know, feel like quitting being a student and working on this full time, and again, like pay come, in this kind of situation, pay comes into mind because if you're not doing anything that's generating an income, how do you support yourself? And so that's something that I think will take some intentional planning, and we probably have to develop I guess a sustainable and working business model that will help us continue to expand the board game and my home stars, and also support ourselves.
Yes, yes, yes. And honestly, actually, like it's something I've always thought about, like pay and things of that kind. But also, like most of you guys who saw our GoFundMe, I think for me, seeing how the public came and then supported us, to me, I was like, if someone is willing to put $100, $200, $500, $1,000 online, I think I'll put my time online. So it has been sort of also this inspiration from the public and just knowing that we have the back of the people. And so it has really never come to a point where I feel like, yeah, we are doing a lot of work, but in the meantime, that also like understanding that the public really believes in what you're doing, they're supporting you. I think it made us sort of push away the part of getting pay and some of us quitting our jobs on campus. But yes, we need to think about this because in the future, I'm sure work will be too much. And if you don't have a way to sustain yourself, it can be tough. So yes, thank you so much, Shelly, for the wonderful and amazing questions. Lovely. Someone else with a question, with a comment, talk to us. I can see most of you and I know you, and it will be awesome to hear from you.
Awesome. Can I chip in?
Yes, please. Duyando, so nice to meet you again.
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me, brother. And this is amazing, Joy and Anson. Great project. And I love the concept note, proud of the amazing work you're doing, and it's great that I like the question that Sharif asked. It's great that you're thinking about getting to, sort of think about sustainability, and things like compensation for yourselves. I think that's great just because, if you're looking to even help more people, right? The more sustainable the project is, the more people are actually able to help out there, right? And the more kids are able to impact in the long run. So that's something to think about, even as you sort of scale the project out there. My question was with regards some of the things that I had in the presentation. You talked about how the stars that you within the game represent the different stars out there. In the universe, and I was also learning a lot myself, right? I was wondering if in the card in the game itself there is a point at which the students get to learn what those stars are and what they're about, sort of to build context, because that's probably not something they have grown up learning about, in a sense. And then my second question was not necessarily a question but a suggestion, is that in terms of looking to build that scalability and also potentially maybe bring about funds, donor sources and things like that could sort of help sustain the project. A great sort of focus would be to see if you could partner up with not just corporations like you mentioned, but also I don't know if your country, I'm sure you do, like in Uganda, you have, Zambia, for example, where I come from, we have what is called the Examination Council of Zambia, which is like the mother body council that sort of regulates examinations that take place in that country at all levels, right? From middle school, primary school, tertiary and all that. And those are, I guess, a great institutions to partner up with, because then they can sort of see value in that, right? Because they are mandating to ensure that the student gets to succeed, right? And if they're able to potentially also incorporate that into their curriculum, right, as a great way to learn, efficient way to learn, that will be one way to ensure that you guys actually also scale up in that sense. And if they even were to mandate schools to actually use this game, which is affordable and all that, in their school system, that would be something that would be a plus for you guys as well. So that was something I was thinking about. And it would also be interesting to sort of hear about how you guys are thinking about incorporating other potential curriculums across the continent, because I think this is something that has a kind of potential, to shift forth to other countries. But thank you so much for having me, and good job, guys.
Leandro, it's so nice to hear from you, and also I connect again. So thank you so much for joining. On your question about actually incorporating the 5 stars, when you ask like, is there a way to teach them how to understand these stars? I would say it's a half-baked sort of process we are still on. So we stop at sort of telling the children what the 5 stars are, the 5 brightest stars are in the sky, and then telling them how, like creating this imagery, like asking them, have you been outside, and do you see like how some of the stars sort of stand out, and sort of portraying or picturing them, or helping them understand that we want you to be like that in the universe. Sort of just inspiring them. You could be the stars of wherever you come from, or wherever you are, or just being you, just being the star of your own journey and things of that kind. But yes, we haven't developed like a model around the whole 5-star, can I say, galaxy, and teaching them in depth. But we've thought about it. Only that we realized that, say, if we are going into that, shall we be necessarily like achieving our goal of maintaining like the learning and focusing on the learning? And the answer was no. But it's something we're really interested in as we develop the model. I think, anything you're growing, at times like you need to focus on efficiency. I think part of it is because like we haven't really become efficient. I would want to admit that. But as we become efficient, and as we continue to improve the process, I think there is an efficient way we can still be chipping maybe like 5-10 minutes at the start of every game for children to be able to understand and learn about these galaxies. Because also, from what you just asked, teachers have always asked about these galaxies, and we try to explain in the best context to understand, but there's more for us to learn and for us to explain. And so thank you for pointing that out. And I think Anson and I will definitely have to continue to think about how do we make this more effective, that it's not taking a lot of time, but kids have so much context about these galaxies beyond inspiring them and telling them that, hey, you could be the stars. And that's why we actually name the characters of the game after the 5 brightest stars in the sky. And then the second question was about like partnering with the country's examination board. In Uganda, it's called NCDC, the National Development Curriculum Center. And actually, I've talked to some of the guys from NCDC, but as you know, like things with the governments, they can take a long time, or they can take a while. So we are hoping to, okay, I've muted them. So something we are definitely thinking about is to make sure that we can get in touch with these guys and continue to find ways we could work together. It will take time, and that's why I'm saying we've sort of gotten in touch with them, but there's nothing significant yet. But we're hoping as we continue to do what we are doing, they'll probably take notice, or we shall find ways actually to work with them. But right now we're trying to make sure that it's not distracting us, because me and Anthony being full-time students, there's so much we can take on. And so right now we're trying to see, in the small time we have, what can we do to be more efficient and deliver so much value that we can in the meantime. But for example, I'm seeing after we graduate and after we take on these roles, sort of having more time, and probably after we hire more people, there will be time to engage these guys and push some of these things into the national curriculum. Lastly was the question about, is there a way to, can I say, expand to other countries? And yes, Luyando, we would have to come to Zambia, and our goal is to be able to, right now, I think in the last year's business plan, the goal was a 5-year plan, whereby in 5 years, we want to expand to other Anglophone countries. And the thing that we're trying is right now is, can we develop a model that is very, can I say, efficient, and then that can easily be replicated across the entire continent? We are saying replicated, a model that works in Uganda and can be replicated, because most African countries were colonized by British or maybe France. And you realize that, for example, countries in the British, which are British colonies, they are having a similar education curriculum. So it means if we can develop a model that works for one country, we can easily replicate it across the entire continent. So yes, it's something we are thinking about and something we really want to explore at some point. Anson, do you have something to add, please?
No, yeah, I think those are good points, and I think at the start when Luyando was saying how we can educate the students about the meaning behind the 5 stars and the different brighter stars and things like that, I was thinking, Joe, we could incorporate that maybe in the backside of our packaging, or somewhere on maybe in the game, the rules document, or somewhere in the game, that students can always look at and understand what they mean by, or what we mean by, the 5 stars.
Yeah, I
Oh yeah,
think we have enough
Joe is
space.
showing.
We have enough space. I think we can put so much here and probably on the sides as well. So yes, good point. I think there will be a way to explore actually how to, can I say, give more information, not necessarily encroaching on the time for the game, but
Right,
to be able
right.
to still provide more information for people to learn.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we've sort of finished our time. I would be okay taking one more last question or one more last comment.
Mhm.
Can I chip in? Mr. Joel?
Yes, yes. I think the internet is. Can you hear us? Oh no. Simon, can you hear us?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes.
About the thing of internet, about the technology, how the game will catch up with the technology. I was thinking our website explain most of the things. Can it work out?
Oh, so you mean, for example, putting the content on the website?
Yeah, we try to write articles about the 5 stars and what we do. Then before we join the National Curriculum Development Center, by then we have enough articles whereby people will always access the work. Can
Yeah,
it
that's
work?
I would say actually that's another option. I'm just, so you see, like with online learning, at least from what I've learned, is it would really have to be very organized. People have been using like online learning or online content. You realize like sometimes when you go to a website or a platform that that's not well arranged and well organized, it can actually be another stressor. So we could explore definitely, like say the opportunities of can I say trying the website, but I'm not sure it will be as good as we want it to be. And also, since we're working with children, I don't know how easy it will be for them to navigate. But still, even the website, I think kids will need like laptops or phones or the internet. So I don't know. It's something definitely we would be interested in, but we are thinking maybe developing an app that's dedicated for the content would be much more, can I say, easier. But yeah, it's something we can talk more about and then see. Good point, Simon.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, guys. I really don't want to take much of your time because we had said this would take actually like we had anticipated like 45 minutes, but it went over an hour. And so thank you so much for engaging with us, and I can't be grateful enough for all your support and for all the energy you've always brought to us. You know, we are students, and understanding that we have a whole team or a whole army actually behind us, supporting us and cheering us up. It means everything. And so thank you so much even for showing up today, and keep can I say, keep in touch, keep letting us know what you'd want to hear and things of that kind. But thank you so much for now. You have an amazing weekend.